Okay, today we're just filling in a few gaps. First thing we're going to do, complete the square to find the center of a circle. Here's our first example. So complete the squares in both x and y to find the center and radius of this circle here. Now when you complete the square, you need, for example, the x squared and the x term together. And we're also going to complete the square with the y squared and the y term together. So first thing, we're going to rewrite it as x squared minus 6x plus y squared plus 8y equals 0. Now, if there was a constant on this side, I would take it over to the right-hand side as well. So what we do, we're going to complete the square on the x term, and then we're going to complete the square on the y terms. So pretend the question is just x squared minus 6x. When you complete the square, what do you do with the coefficient of the x? You halve it and square it. Now, because this is an equation and we've got left-hand side and right-hand side, so we're going to half of 6 is 3, so we're going to add 3 squared to this side. Now, because it's an equation, I'm going to add 3 squared to both sides. There are two options that you have. You can add 3 squared and take away 3 squared on the same side. That way you've added nothing on one side, or you can add 3 squared to both sides, which still keeps the equation balanced. So I'm going to add 3 squared on the right-hand side. You only add it to both sides when it's an equation. You'll add it and subtract it to the same side when you've got y equals your quadratic and you want to complete the square on the quadratic. So when you've got 0 on this side or a number on this side, you can add it to both sides. Okay, so I've completed the square on the x squared minus 6x, and I've added 3 squared to both sides. Now I'm going to complete the square on the y squared plus 8y. So half of 8. So this, in this case, it's like the y's are your x's. So what's half the, what do we do? What do I do with these two? Plus half the coefficient of the ordinary term. Like you've got your squared term and your term with a single power. You halve, in this case, this will be your b. So it's like this, x squared minus 6x. I'm doing the same on this, y squared plus 8y. Same process, it's just that the pronumeral is y. So I have to halve the coefficient of 8, which is 4, so I'm going to add 4 squared to both sides. X plus or minus 3? So we've got x minus 3 squared. There's a completed square, and the other completed square is this one. And what does this one become? Plus y plus 4 squared. Now this is equals what? 9 plus 16, which is 25. So therefore, this is of the format x minus 3 squared plus, now for a circle it needs to be in the format of x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So it's got to be in this format. Or you can do x minus a squared plus y minus b squared equals r squared. How am I going to write this? Y minus negative 4 squared equals, how would I write the 25 as r squared? 5 squared. So therefore, so girls, I've completed the square there. You can remember it by the formula or by shifts. So this is a circle. What's the center of the circle? With center what? No, it's 3. Because what makes this 0? 3. What makes this 0? Negative 4. So the center is 3, negative 4, or you can write it in this format, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. If it is in that format, your center of your circle is hk and your radius is r. So if the circle is in this format, your center is hk and your radius is r. If you look at what we've been doing with shifting the whole time, or you can just say, what makes that 0? 3. What makes this 0? Y is negative 4. And that's your center, 3, negative 4. And what's the radius? Radius is 5. So that's your circle. Center 3, negative 4, radius 5 from this given equation here. Got 1, 2, 3. So across 1, I'm just trying to keep it to scale a bit. Down 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your 3, negative 4. But just be very careful because you've got to, it's going to be a bit hard to sketch. You've got to draw radius 5. So if you were to sketch this from here, you need to go 5 to the right, 5 to the left, 5 up, and 5 down to draw the circle, okay, with radius 5. So how would we do that? If this is across 3 down -4, how far up do I go? Yeah, up 5, which will take me to 1. No, from -4. Yep. And then here, if I'm across 3, how far back do I go here? Yeah, -2. Actually, what I think we should do, I think it's going to pass through the origin. I'll tell you why. Because if you go across 3 and down 4, do you know this triangle in Pythagoras? 3, 4, 5. It's a triad. 3, 4, that distance is 5. This definitely passes through the origin. Because look, if this is the, if you put 0, 0 into this equation, when x is 0, you get 9. And when y is 0, you get 16. 9 plus 16 is 25. This actually passes through the origin. I know it's a bit horrible. All right, where am I going to go across to the side? 3 plus 5 is 8. So I've got to go to 8, -4. As long as you've, look, as long as you're identifying these points, -2, -4, and then you've got to go how many down? So this would be 3, say -9. This would be 3, -9. Okay, so there's your circle. Okay, it's not the bit, you know, you've got to make it a bit more rounded. And this is the point 3, 1. Okay, so what you want to do is add 5 up, subtract 5, add 5 across, subtract 5 across. Okay, but the main thing we did new here was to complete the square on that circle, on that equation. The square on this next one, we've got x squared plus 14x plus 14 plus y squared minus 2y. What's the first thing I should do? Take the 14 over. So we'll do that. -14. And now you're going to complete the square on the x terms and complete the square on the y terms and add whatever you're adding to both sides. So what do we add? What do we do? Half of 14 is 7. So 7 squared. And half of 2 is 1 squared. 2 is 1. Half of 2 is 1. So I've got the -14 there. What have I added to both sides? I've added 7 squared to both sides. And I've added, what else did I add? 1 squared. Okay. So you the x squared plus 14x became x squared plus 14x plus 7 squared. But we added the 7 squared to both sides. And then the y squared minus 2y became y squared minus 2y plus half of 2 is 1. So adding 1 squared to both sides. And now it's good to write it this way because instead of writing 49, because that's just x plus 7 squared plus y minus, because 1 squared, equals -14 plus 1 plus 49. That's -14 plus 50. Is that 36? I think so. So this is a circle, center what? You can remember the formula, but I just say what makes that 0. -7. Anyone? 1. Radius is 6. That's it. So we haven't covered them. How would I can see what the center of the circle is. Can you see what the center of the circle is or not? Yeah, I can write it like that. But what's the radius? This is not a square number. Yeah, so to write that as a square number, you write it as √5 squared. All right? So the center of this circle is, be careful, you can say what makes that 0, or you can write it in this format. So what's the center? 2, -1. Radius is √5. Just be careful with those. So if you don't get a square number on the right-hand side, any number can be written as a square number. For example, 5 is √5 squared. 11 is √11 squared. So you can always make, it doesn't have to be a square number for your radius. All right? You can write it as square root, whatever, squared. Okay?